Chapter 6. Sacred and Profane Love. Rose was excited for the new session. She spent the whole day anxiously, but with a positive gut feeling. She was in a really good mood that day, even speaking to people at her work a little bit, and for the first time in a very long time, she accepted to join their happy hour next Friday. And because of it, it was extra disappointing when Sienna had to reschedule. Paul was feeling sick, and she had to take him to the doctor, so Rose would have to wait one extra day to her so much desired hypnosis session, but it was just one day. Rose felt the usual ache in her chest that she didn't even bother anymore. Her emotional pain became physical a while ago, and she just got used to it. That annoying pain was another drama to piss her off, and she chose to not let it. Rose went home earlier than she thought, and at least that was nice. She wasn't hungry yet and only served herself some iced tea to lay in her couch and watch the sunset. She got lost in her thoughts for a second and felt Alex's presence once more, the tingles in her forehead and her heart. So Rose closed her eyes and thought about Alex. She allowed herself to daydream and have sweet thoughts about him for a while. Suddenly, she noticed herself somewhere else. Rose looked around at what seemed to be a train of Chicago subway. In front of her was Alex, wearing his suit and standing in a semi-crowded hallway. He seemed to be distracted, listening to something in his earphones and lost in his thoughts. He was daydreaming too, Rose noticed. She smiled and stared at him, so handsome. He looked tired but still was the prettiest boy she has ever seen. Then Rose realized it was Wednesday, and in an impulse, she kissed his forehead, a long and sweet kiss, full of her love. Alex smiled, and she laughed softly to not disturb him. Rose touched her forehead in his and hugged his waist, holding them in that moment for a little while. Her whole body was tingling, and she slowly slid her face into his neck, hugging him tightly. So someone spoke to him, and Rose felt herself being pulled back to her sofa, still feeling the chills and tingles where his skin was touching hers. Rose smiled, and grabbing her crucifix, she thanked for that. So an idea crossed her mind, and she ran to her purse to pick up the tarot cards. She concentrated and calmed her heart that was racing to start reading the tarot. Rose started shuffling the cards while remembering the spontaneous experience she had. "Did that really happen?" Rose asked, and she pulled an ace of wands. Yes, it was real. How? Once more she asked, and she pulled the lovers, and behind it, the star card came glued together. Soulmates. They were connected through their spirits. Rose already knew that, but she only sees him once in a while, in a meditation or briefly appearing at her sight. This time, she felt like she saw him, for real, and interacted with him. Rose was so excited that she wanted to text Sienna immediately to tell her, but she held her enthusiasm and put herself together to continue. "How do I make it happen again?" Rose asked. She pulled the Knight of Cups and Seven of Pentacles. Still confusing. She started getting cards, and next was the Moon and the Sun. Rose started staring at those 4 cards, trying to keep her mind empty, so she could have an intuition or anything. She had to offer love, the Knight, and wait for the reward. 7 Moon and Sun means soulmates, but maybe it was something else. She felt it wasn't everything. First on heaven, and then on the earth. That's what she heard inside her mind. Cool, that was promising. So Rose asked again, how do I make it work? Ace of Cups, 10 of Cups, the Temperance. Rose was looking at it, thinking about a new beginning, full of love and completion, even if it was going to take a while. Her heartbeat raised and she felt hope once more, but that didn't explain what she had to do. 2 of Pentacles, 6 of Pentacles, and Wheel of Fortune. She had to find her center, to feel balanced, to put some effort to reach him without expectations and wait for things to change. Does Alex love me too? Ace of Pentacles. That was her favorite question. There wasn't one time she read tarot that she didn't ask that question. She never got a no, but it was so hard to believe that due to the circumstances. Is he ever talking to me again? Ace of Swords. She smiled widely and kissed the deck in her hands. The cards were always showing the 10 of Cups for her. Happiness, love, perfection. But every time she looked around at her life, the reality, her rational mind would take her down. Keeping her faith and hope was a daily exercise. The sun was almost down and she went to the kitchen to prepare herself dinner. Sienna was probably taking care of Paul, and Rose didn't want to bother her, so she decided to tell her what happened the next day, at her session. She put some music on and started cooking, singing, and dancing, as she always does, drinking her wine and enjoying life, for once. Next morning, when Rose woke up, her head was hurt because of that wine, but she didn't care. It was worthy. Before coming out of the bed, she tried to reach Alex. Her strategy was to meditate and try to connect with him. She was going to keep offering him the Knight of Cups until he gave her back the Seven of Pentacles. Rose closed her eyes and tried to be aware of herself, her body and breathing, and how comfortably she was laying in her bed. She then imagined herself in a white room with bright walls, and she started calling his name. Rose concentrated in the love she felt for Alex and called him with her heart. For her surprise, she noticed the strings of light coming out of her chest disappearing in the light. So she touched it. The strings were warm and soft and seemed to be flexible. Rose then tried to float in the air, taking her feet out of the floor, one after the other, and holding tight to the strings. And slowly she started to pull herself through it. Rose noticed that pulling it with her hands was weird, and some strength in her torso was making her heart to claim it. So she pictured herself pulling the strings from the center of her chest, and in the speed of a blink, she was face to face with Alex. He was still sleeping in his bed. Rose was floating over him, in his room, and the strings connecting them were shining brighter. She didn't touch him, but held in the strings to keep her there. That was amazing, and she was surprised it worked. Rose called Alex by his name, and a wave of light came from his chest toward hers, and when it touched her body, Rose felt love. Not hers, but his. So she concentrated in her chest once more, and allowed herself to feel the unbelievable love she had, and, instead of pulling, she pushed through the strings. A powerful wave moved from her to him, and Alex smiled in his sleep. Rose also noticed that the strings got thicker after she did it, and she started examining them when Alex's alarm clock went off and she was taken back to her own body. Her whole body was tingling again, and she had goosebumps from the tip of her toe to the top of her head. Rose spent the whole morning writing down everything she experienced, and the afternoon drawing what she saw, to show Sienna in their session later. That experience was a milestone in her life, because from that day on, her art became a mirror of her spiritual events. In Sienna's office, Rose told her about the experience and showed the notes and sketches for her. They agreed Rose would keep a notebook to register any event like this, and Sienna took photos of it all to keep in her records. "I will research about this subject, see if I can find other people that had experiences like yours," Sienna said, fascinated. "So do you think Alex can notice me?" Rose asked. "That's a hard question. It is very inconvenient that we can't ask him. But let us focus on you now, and as soon as I find out more about this, I will let you know. Are you ready to start?" "Yes," Rose said, sitting comfortably in her chair as Sienna was setting the room. She started recording since the beginning in case there was anything different happening, and started the session with the usual relaxation. They did the breathing exercises, self-awareness of Rose's body, and the complete relaxation of her muscles. She was melted in the chair, breathing softly and slowly. "Okay, Rose, remember the garden? Go there, sit in the grass, and feel the sun shining over you, warming your face." Sienna noticed Rose was smiling. After a couple of minutes, she continued. "Now, plant your feet in the grass and feel your roots going down, spreading into the earth, looking for water to settle. Let me know when you are done grounding." "I am ready," Rose said after a few minutes. "Perfect. So now, I need you to look for the water mirror. Can you see it?" Sienna asked. "Yes, in the lake," Rose answered. "Good. Walk to the lake and wet your feet a little." "Can you see your reflection in the water?" Sienna asked. It took a little while for Rose to answer. "I do. It is cold," Rose answered, and Sienna noticed she had goosebumps. She raised the temperature of the room a little to see if it was going to help. "Are you alone in the lake?" "I don't know. I am sinking," Rose answered. "Do you feel safe?" Sienna asked, and Rose nodded her head. "What do you see, Rose?" Rose was standing in a beach. It was pretty, but the air was cold, and the sky was cloudy. She looked around and saw Alex, the knight. It was his older version. He looked pale and sad, walking in the beach near to some stones. Rose got close to him and called his name. The knight Alex stopped and looked up. Rose noticed there was a castle on the top of the cliff, and there was a village near it, coming down towards the beach. "Did you jump, my love? Or did that bastard push you?" he said with a choked, angry voice. Knight Alex walked toward the stones and sit there, crying. Rose was disturbed with it, and thinking out loud, she asked, "What happened?" And she was dragged and saw herself in the top of the cliff. There was a passage into the rock, a cave system that the castle encompassed the structure and contained stored weaponry and armor. Rose felt she liked to be there. She enjoys the caves because she can be alone with her thoughts, but wasn't only it. She remembered being there with her beloved knight Alex. They could enjoy each other company in there, they talk. Rose remembered to spend hours talking to him in that place about life and everything that matters, about small and meaningless things, and whenever they could, they promised each other eternal love. But that day, Rose was feeling lonely. Her heart was aching and she was feeling hopeless. She walked until a natural balcony embedded in stone where she loved to rest, and she thought about her knight. She started speaking, but Rose couldn't understand the words coming out of her mouth. But she felt in her heart that she was calling for him. She asked the wind to send him a message, for knight Alex to come pick her up and take her away with him. There wasn't home without him. Philip was old enough to take care of his little sister Rita, and they didn't need their mother anymore. Her husband loved someone else too, and he made no effort to hide it from her or the society. She could be free. And being free, the only thing she wanted was to be happy with her knight, nothing more. Her life was meaningless in his absence. As she was claiming to the wind to attend to the wish of her heart, she slipped on the cold, wet stone and fell. "It was an accident. I need to tell him," Rose said. "Tell who, Rose?" Sienna asked. "My knight, Alex. He needs to know." Rose was back to the lake, and with a thought, "Take me to him," she sank. He was in the procession, trying to get close to her body, maybe to see her one last time. She could see her husband and his lover by his side, and their children. They were all crying, even the mistress. That was weird, and Rose wasn't comfortable, so she went to knight Alex and whispered, "It was an accident. My fall was an accident." But he didn't seem to hear what she was expecting after all. Rose left that place because she didn't want to be there, but she was dragged to the cabin in the woods. The blonde girl was leaving him with another man. Some young peasant, and knight Alex only wished her luck. He was thinking about Rose and feeling guilty, but why? Rose's mind was getting confused, and because of it, the images started to blur. She hugged knight Alex to try to bring her to a center, and while she was holding him, she felt his pain. Why? Why the guilt? Rose asked him. Then she saw a different memory. The messenger from before, he found knight Alex and was coming running with his horse. But before he could arrive, Rose was brought back to the lake surface. "What? Why? Please take me back," Rose exclaimed, but she was still floating. "Rose? What happened?" Sienna asked. "I was pulled back. I can't dive anymore," Rose answered sadly. "So come back, honey. Let's continue in another session. Can you swim back to the margin, please?" Sienna asked, and Rose obeyed. When they finished and Rose was opening her eyes, she felt like something went missing from her mind. "Sienna, I can't remember what happened last. What did I told you?" Rose asked. "Which part? We can check the records." Sienna offered her, and Rose had to hear it again to remember. "I forgot about the messenger. Alex the knight was feeling guilty. Whatever it is, we can try to access in the next session. I feel like you had enough for one day, Rose." Sienna was concerned about Rose. She didn't want her to be obsessed about this past life or whatever memories and insights she was achieving, because she needed to reconnect with her actual existence and learn how to be happy again. At the same time, she wasn't apathetic for the first time in a very long time, and she didn't want to disturb Rose. "Sienna, that's the second life I remembered, that Alex and I loved each other and couldn't be together. Do you think this is happening over and over again, life after life? Rose asked her with tears in her eyes. No, darling. In my opinion, as your best friend, if reincarnation exists and you two are meeting each other in different lives, it's to give you guys the chance to be happy together. It would be too cruel to put you both in each other's path just to cause pain. I don't think God, the nature, or the universe would be that mean, do you? Sienna answered. No, you are right, Rose said, hugging her. Rose needed hope more than any moral lesson, and Sienna knew it well. I will continue trying to connect with him. Do you think it's going to disturb him? I don't want to hurt Alex, Rose asked. I think you should keep trying, and if he loves you too, he will be happy with it. If he doesn't love you, I don't think he will be able to do much, honestly. Makes sense. I will be careful though. Can I tell you something? Sure, Rose. Go ahead, Sienna said, holding her hands. I am praying every day for him to go back to my life, but I am terrified about it too. I don't want to lose him once more. I can't bear to go through all that pain again. You won't. You know better now, Rose, and you are no longer the same person than before. Nothing and no one will ever take you down, ever again, Rose. And if Alex returns to your life, choose to believe you will be very happy. Life doesn't offer guarantees, so anything could happen. Simply choose to have hope and believe that your life will be as marvelous as it can be. With or without him, Sienna said, calming Rose. I hope is with him, Rose answered shyly. Me too. I hope from the bottom of my heart that Alex will one day regret, and you two can be happily ever after, Sienna said, and she was being honest. Sienna knew Rose better than anyone, and she deserved to be happy. Rose had defects like everyone else, but at least she was willing to be better, and that was something great in Sienna's opinion. If everyone decided to become better, at least a little, the world would be safer, prettier, and more meaningful. Rose went home thinking about Night Alex. It was awkward because she could feel like she loved him so much, but she could also feel it when remembering the winged Alex, and it felt the same thinking about her Alex, without interfering or canceling each other out. Like loving each one of them was adding to all other. And it was remarkably interesting how connecting with this memories brought to her different sensations of herself, of how she thinks and feels. Like it was slightly different versions of her, each one with their own whims, taste, and beliefs. Rose had then an intrusive thought, a persistent one, that was stubborn enough to show up every time she believed that she was understanding or learning something new. What if she is losing her mind?